stages of this one, of course, but how exciting does this one feel?
Yeah, look, I think everyone's excitement was building towards the end of the regular season, and then when we got the opportunity to meet up last week, I think everyone kind of came to a huge crescendo, I suppose, and we were all buzzing to get together first and foremost, and excited to see what we could bring to the training field. And last week's training definitely didn't disappoint. I think guys been hugely jumping at the bit, I suppose, to get out and show what everyone's got on the field. And last week's training was a very tough training week, but we got a lot out of it.
You obviously see guys on the circuit week in, week out, but when you get back together as Lions, do you pick it up where you left things off in New Zealand 4 years ago, with those guys that were on the tour then?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a huge element of regelling as quickly as possible with those guys, but a few different coaches in now, different ways of doing things, slightly different ways of attacking, slightly different ways of defending, lineouts, all those things. Kind of you sort of strip right the way back to basics, then start to build them up again. But the caliber of players that you're training and working with, that all comes together or has come together. I feel probably as smooth as it's ever come together in any squad I've ever been in.
I guess it's an obvious question to do is to compare things. How does this training session, if you like, and the early part of this tour compare to 4 years ago? I imagine they're just completely different things, what with COVID, before you even start on rugby.
Yeah, like I suppose this time in the last tour we were coming together for camps for 2 or 3 days, 4 days, splitting and come back together. So it was quite disjointed in that manner, and it didn't really feel like the tour had started. Whereas definitely from last Sunday when everyone got the planes in together into Jersey, there was a real definite feel that that's the start of tour. That's where things began, if you like. In terms of training, I think the numbers we I can't remember exactly, but I think there's maybe just about 15 last time who have been here, who were there from the start. Whereas this time we've been up mid to high 20s who have been here available to train from the start. So that's already added a huge element that the majority of the squad being here have been able to get on board, and it'll be tough for the guys who are just coming in, but I have no doubt that they'll catch up as quickly as everyone else has jumped on board as well.
Do you feel, therefore, that you may be a little bit advanced as where you were, say, compared to 4 years ago at this stage, just because of the numbers in training?
I think so. I definitely do think so. As I said there before, chopping in and out of camp, whether it being in the Vale at Wales 4 years ago, we're going over to Carton House the last time, having everyone here, spending their spare time together, getting to know each other, going out for dinner, having a few pints with each other, all that stuff I think is vital to making things click on the field and off the field, which is ultimately the quicker you can do that in the Lions Tour, the quicker you'll see things being produced on the pitch.
This weekend, of course, first game of the tour in effect. First time since 2005 the Lions will have played on UK soil. I mean, the Lions are pretty much an elite group at the best of times, but those who will be able to say they played for the Lions in the British Isles will be able to perform a really elite group. Is there a sort of a real scramble for the shirts to be in that first side that's named?
Well, obviously, a huge training week last week, and a lot of guys are definitely attempting and definitely were putting their best foot forward to ensure that the coaching staff could be able to fight their corner, if you like, in the selection process. But I think everyone at the minute is just dying to get the first game underway. Looking forward to this first match week. We had a good mornings, getting clarity this morning, bit of gym this morning. I do think everyone's aligned in their goals. I don't feel like we're fighting for places at the minute. I feel like we're working well together to aid the team that is going to take the field in Murrayfield.
It's fair to say Japan aren't going to play the same style as South Africa will. Does that matter?
No, I don't think so. I think definitely this first game we'll be looking. We understand there's definitely two of the nations anyway understand the massive threats that Japan can bring. Obviously, as you said, the style of game will be slightly different to South Africa. However, the level of intensity, I think will 100% be there, and we're going to have to make sure that we are fully switched in there to be able to cope with that, and it'll be a massive test for us.
The phrase that gets used a lot by professional sportsmen is, well, it's all about us, not about the opposition. Is that actually maybe truer than it's ever been this weekend? It is
I do agree with that to certain extents. But you wind back to the last World Cup and you look at Ireland and Scotland and how there were definitely error-strewn performances that probably didn't go the way that the countries had planned. Probably potentially not putting it down to paying enough attention to what Japan brings. So I'll definitely be going into this game with an open mind, ensuring that we can get all our stuff right in terms of our Lions detail and prep, but having a good idea of the intensity and the accuracy which the Japanese will bring. If you forget about that, I think we might find ourselves in a difficult place.
Thank you, Iain.
Thanks.
Hi Ian, it's Graham Thomas here from Sky Sports News.
Yeah, how you getting on?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I was in Jersey last week with you, Ian, and I saw the training session on Friday at Jersey Reds, and you had what 1,500 people there. Fantastic atmosphere, great day. How much did you feel afterwards? A little regretful that a lot of those Lions fans, or in fact none of them, are going to be there with you and South Africa.
Yeah, like I think a lot of the guys commented on it afterwards. It was great. Like when you're in a training, when you're in the middle of a training session and someone makes a break and you hear a crowd cheer. That's the first time most of us had heard a crowd cheer and playing rugby in well over a year anyway. That was exciting in itself. First game first. We're looking forward to having fans in Murrayfield. I think that's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And it was great to get them out the other day over here. In South Africa, it'll be obviously a different kettle of fish. I think there's still a bit of uncertainty around what numbers are going to be allowed in there, if any. So obviously the tour often comes with a huge cohort of supporters travelling, be it going to games or not going to games or being around the general vicinity. But obviously this tour will be different than that. But the guys who have played in Six Nations and played for their clubs will be well used now to dealing with different and adverse conditions. So I would like to hope that anyone who would be or may be affected by this will have dealt with something similar to this before and look, we'll be able to put that behind them and make sure they bring the best rugby on the pitch.
Is it something you've talked about as a group yet, the need to create your own atmosphere, your own intensity, if there aren't any crowds to feel?
No, we haven't discussed that much yet. I would imagine that'll probably come in sort of the tail end of the match week. Maybe not this match week, maybe next match week, to ensure that we're putting things in place to make sure that doesn't surprise us. But I think, as I said, all the players will have played with no crowds, no atmosphere. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be having done that, we'll hopefully make it a bit more like a bit more realistic than what we've been used to.
Yeah. And for you personally, as Andrew was asking you've been through this experience 4 years ago. Are you a little more comfortable in your first few days because of that? A little less awestruck?
Yeah, I think so. I think being here the last tour obviously gives you know what to expect, or maybe a little less nervous, if you like, about getting everything underway. But I definitely do feel that this time coming in, it's a lot of the staff are still the same. So you're familiar with a load of those guys, as we talked about. A lot of the players are similar. So you slip back in and re-gel with those guys pretty quick, and you have an understanding then of what it feels like for a new player to be in. So then you can do as best possible to bring them up to scratch or make them feel as welcome or as comfortable as possible. So all those things, I think, are a mixture of feelings that I felt in the first week, and as I said before, all those combined, I think, are helping us on the pitch.
And in terms of the fundamentals on the pitch of the playing style, what you're trying to achieve, are the messages different this time than they were four years ago? Are you trying to, how would you summarise what the ethos is on the training field at the moment?
Yeah, I think bits and pieces are definitely different. However, I think if you look at a lot of teams in the Six Nations and look at the way they defend, a lot of them are very similar, and a lot of the way teams attack are very similar. Um, so, uh, so it won't be a huge amount different in that aspect, but the way the messages are being put across, the way we're training, is slightly different this time in a positive manner, I think. So, um, again, it's very early days to tell about what way that's going to translate on the into a match day scenario. So, like, I think time will tell, and we'll hopefully see how we go after this weekend.
Thanks, Ian. Good luck.
Cheers.
Hi Ian, Gareth here from BBC, mate. Just a quick one. You mentioned there about it doesn't feel like it's sort of fighting for places at the moment, but a couple of locks there with Maro Itoje and Alan Jones were there 4 years ago. How would you view the sort of the depth at lock there going into this tour?
Yeah, well, obviously the fact that there's four of us, be it Maro, Alwyn, Courtney, and myself here, that we're all here in the last tour, goes to show that the depth is there, and any experience that you might hold as a trump card from being on the last tour. All those other guys hold it too. So at the minute it is just about getting everyone on the same page, making sure that everyone understands the way we want to play, the way we want the team to work. And then match performances will definitely dictate about around how selection goes later in the tour. So it'll be interesting, but at the minute it's exciting and enjoyable.
You alluded to it as well with Ireland and Scotland. How much are those memories from the 2019 World Cup still with the guys from those two nations?
Oh, I think they're definitely very strong. I think the Welsh and English have a good understanding too from the outside. The upsets and the big performances that the Japanese have put in over the last number of years have been incredible, and I think they've shocked and surprised in a good way a lot of the rugby playing world, if you like, and it's great to see, and I think it's just only going to add for an even more exciting game at the weekend, and look forward to the challenges that brings.
Thank you, Ian.
Cheers.
Hi, Ian. Khan from J Sport. And what kind of impression you have to the Japan team or the rugby in Japan? And if you have any particular players to watch or to mark up in Japanese team?
Yeah, look, Japanese rugby obviously has gone from strength to strength, and you don't have to, as I said there, you don't have to ask any more or any further than the Scottish and Irish players here in this squad about the damage that they did to us in the 2019 World Cup. Obviously, watching the rugby out there, it's brilliant to see, like, their club sides going from strength to strength, and I've chatted with a few of the guys, some of the boys out there, and they thoroughly enjoy playing out there, and the standard is ever increasing and getting better and better. So I would only expect that to translate into the Japanese national team's game, and see them improving on season. And obviously the player who stands out in my head, Michael Leach, obviously is phenomenal for Japan, and he's definitely one who caused us a lot of trouble when we played him in the World Cup. So he's definitely one that I think that we will have to keep our eye on.
Thank you very much.
Ian, can I ask a question? Owen Slot here from the Times. Hi. There's only two midweek games on this tour, which is obviously quite a big difference. I just wonder what impacts or how that will change the way things are.
Yeah, the midweek games obviously put a bit of stress on the squad and players to have quick turnarounds and be able to perform. It also plays around a bit with your usual match day training week. Obviously, all the countries and clubs would generally, at very worst, have a 5 or 6 day turnaround at going into games. So having that chopped right the way down to 2 or 3 days after a game and going into another game obviously puts huge stress on the players, puts stress on the coaches for their training week. So having less of those will obviously be will put the team under less stress, but then obviously slightly less time on the pitch together maybe. But I think overall the players are a pretty adaptable bunch, and whatever gets thrown at them, they'll be able to deal with. As we saw in the last tour, a lot of the players fronted up and came out and played. A good few of them anyway played a test match after playing a midweek game and performed well in that test match. So look, the players are willing to do anything, and they know that this is when it gets down to crunch time, they'll put their body on the line and let Gats know that.
Would it be fair to say that if you do start in a midweek team, the opportunities for impressing and therefore getting onto a Saturday team are harder if you're further between?
Well, I seem to think that I thought that probably at the start of going to the last tour, but look at I think it was Liam Williams and Elliot Daly both started that final midweek game, and then they ended up. I think one of them definitely started, and the other one might have been on the bench the test team that weekend. So I think as we've seen with a lot of things, Gats has a good idea of what he wants, and he'll pick the team based on who he thinks is going to do the best job at that point in time. Maybe not necessarily who's been in which team and who's been on Saturday or Wednesday teams.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
And just with your experience of that opening game 4 years ago, how important do you find to look back on that and realise just how big it is to lay down a marker early on in the first game?
Hi Jonathan, how you getting on? Yeah, like obviously the first game against the provincial Barbarians, that was obviously a real tough game. They took us by a bit of surprise. Obviously there are several excuses we get automatically jumped to, but the performance probably wasn't up to scratch. This tour, hopefully we've gelled. I feel we've gelled better as a team. We've had better training leading into the game. Travel will be better, and the team will have trained more together. I think all those things will come together to hopefully provide us with better preparation for the game and fingers crossed a better performance in that game.
Cheers, and thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks all. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.